check, check, check. Check, check, check. Yes.
Okay, so I'll be at the scan.
Antiphonal.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think Linda wanted them down.
She was waiting, I think, for it. Oh, Larry's back in town. You're welcome, and then I will call you for the invitation.
Yes. You do your thing and then I'll come.
Yep. I just say I welcome our beloved senior rabbi to provide us with tonight's invocation. We can start on Jewish time. It's only 7:01. We're cutting into the Nash time? I don't know. It's just nice to see everybody talking, socializing. Right. No. Way to take over, Cantor.
And action.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
my fellow congregants, board trustees, officers, staff, and clergy, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this year's annual meeting of Congregation Shalom. I'm so glad that you have all joined us here this evening. We are blessed to have each and every one of you in our Shalom community. It is all of you that make Shalom such a special and holy place. It is my distinguished honor to now call this annual meeting to order. I welcome our beloved Senior Rabbi Noah to provide us with tonight's invocation.
So sometimes when we're writing, we like to find inspiration from texts that precede us. And when I was an assistant rabbi in Florida at Temple Kolami Emmanuel, I befriended a member of a congregation whose father was a rabbi who had passed away many years before. And so this congregant gave me a number of rabbis' manuals and a book of invocations. And I was thinking, let's take a look at what the invocations have to say for an annual meeting. And to my surprise, when I looked at the front page, I noticed for the very first time, it's interesting because I've had this for a number of years, that this book of invocations was actually published in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1951, which is the year of the founding of our congregation. Not by our congregation, but by Louis Switchko, Rabbi Louis Switchko of blessed memory, from Rabbi Beth El Ner Tamid Synagogue. So I am going to plagiarize, I suppose, the words of Rabbi Switchko, and I know that I can't do it justice. I've heard he was quite the orator. But he wrote in his book of invocations these words, so let us pray. Almighty God and God of our parents, guardian of Israel, as we are about to inaugurate this foundation-laying conference, we invoke thy benign blessings and guidance upon thy children gathered here this evening in behalf of Israel's age-long fortress of strength, the synagogue. Grant us, we pray, these steadfast hearts and resolute determination to meet successfully the supreme challenge of our time, the preservation, perpetuation, and revitalization of religious concepts, precepts, cultural contributions, and ethical concepts of Judaism. Imbue us with renewed zeal and fervent devotion so that the eternal light of our parents may once again serve as a powerful beacon, piercing the spiritual fog of this era and illuminating the path before us. May harmony and sincerity of purpose ever guide our endeavors, unity, and a genuine spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood, our deliberations and resolves. And let us say, Amen.
Thank you very much, Rabbi, for those meaningful words and for your continuous blessings throughout our community. These blessings are heartfelt here within our sanctuary, but also throughout our days as we go on in our life's journeys. As we move into the business of tonight's meeting, I now ask that we present the meeting minutes from last year's June 2022 annual meeting. I now recognize Board Trustee Linda Berlin.
Mr. President, I move suspension of the reading of the minutes of the last meeting.
Thank you, Linda. Can I get a second? Second from Nancy Barnett. All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion, I am pleased to announce that the motion passes and the meeting minutes from June 2022 are approved. Thank you, Matt Honigman, for providing such copious notes last year. For so many years in my life, Congregation Shalom has meant so much to me and my entire family. It is the only congregation that I have ever been a member of. I grew up here at Congregation Shalom, attended religious school, Hebrew school, got bar mitzvahed here, then confirmed. I watched both of my parents get remarried here. Kelly and I took our wedding vows right up here. And sadly, we said goodbye at the funeral of my transgender sister, Lauren, right here at Shalom. But then I had the pleasure of watching my kids grow up here. My son Noah, having been bar mitzvahed and now confirmed, and also a madrich in the religious school. And Eli is preparing for his bar mitzvah to come in September with his favorite cousin, Ethan. I am very lucky to be enriched by Congregation Shalom for so long, and to feel the warmth here my whole entire life. So it gave me great pleasure to lead this congregation as your president. For the past 3 years, it has been a complete honor to serve this congregation in this role. It wasn't always easy, and there were definitely some unexpected challenges. Never ever did I think that we would need to make a decision to close all of our doors and operate through a thrown-together video studio and through our computer screens. I never imagined having to pre-record the High Holy Day services and broadcast them out to our congregation while they were all sitting at home. We took these challenges and made the very best we could with them. We became more flexible, we adapted, and we came out strong in the end. The reason for this strength is because of the great people we have here at Congregation Shalom, who dedicate all they have to making sure we are meeting all the needs of our community. Rabbi Noah has continued to eloquently lead our community through times of challenge and has also lifted us all up at great times of joy. Your leadership is tremendous. Rabbi Noah, I am very grateful for your mentorship, your friendship, and guidance throughout my presidency. Thank you. Over the past 3 years, we were also blessed to bring Cantor Perper and his lovely wife, Faith, to our Shalom community. Cantor has brought a tremendous amount of musical talent to our congregation. His chanting of the prayers has the ability to reach deep into our souls. His personality and character can instantly lift all of our spirits. He has done an exceptional job with our choir, and I am very thankful for everything that you bring to Congregation Shalom. And I am extremely excited to publicly announce tonight the news that Congregation Shalom has extended our agreement with Cantor Perper for an additional 5 years of service. Congratulations. That is really great news for our congregation, and we look forward to you continuing to bring incredible musical inspiration to all our lives for many years to come. Rabbi Pazlowski has also done a great job of providing prayer and guidance to our entire synagogue community. Your rabbinic leadership and thoughtful sermons have taught us some important lessons along the way. I thank you for your commitment to our congregation and look forward to lots of future, very in-depth oneg conversations. Brian Abner, our Director of Lifelong Learning, has done a really incredible job with our educational program. Brian has really enhanced our youth religious school, and you can really see it in the amount of students and young families joining our congregation. Brian has added new field trips and speaker learning experiences and has created great energy for our education. Thanks to Brian and all our wonderful teachers and educators for providing such meaningful education to all our congregants. It also gives me great pleasure tonight to announce that Congregation Shalom and Brian have agreed to extend his great work here at Congregation Shalom for an additional 2 years. Brian, we completely appreciate everything you bring to our community and look forward to learning from you and with you deep into the future. Thank you. In regards to our religious school, I also want to say a special thanks to Miss Wendy Cohn. Despite a very difficult health diagnosis this year, you brought an incredible amount of energy to our school. You pushed through and gave everything you had. You inspired me, you inspired our teachers, and you influenced every child in our school. We are so lucky to have you in our community. Thank you for all that you do, We wish you the best health and happiness and look forward to hearing your talented music at the start of our school year next year. Next school year will also be a special year for Mandy Winke. After a wonderful long career of working in our school, Mandy has announced that next year will be her last year at Congregation Shalom as she plans for her retirement. For so many years, Mandy has provided planning, organization, and stability to our religious school. We will cherish this last year with you in our school and look forward to honoring your accomplishments in the year to come. Our executive director, Linda Hollifield, continues to work so passionately to make sure the synagogue runs efficiently and operates in a way that can best fit the needs of all of our congregants. I really appreciate Linda's tireless time, commitment to our synagogue and to our board. Linda also has an incredible office staff in Amy Kahn, Peyton Gex, Andrea Gaddy, Heather Watson, Laurel Rose, and Meredith Canner. Our kitchen manager, Natasha Lamson, has also been a delicious addition to our staff as well. Our entire staff is committed to making sure our congregation is running smoothly and we are serving the needs of our community. Our maintenance staff also does a great job of making sure this building is prepared each day for the next planned event. Thanks again to all our clergy and staff for making Congregation Shalom such a special place for us all. We have some really special board members that have given of their time, talents, and energy to make this place even better. Thank you so much to our board members whose terms are being completed tonight. Terry Stevens, I want to thank you for serving as board secretary for 6 fantastic years, along with many other roles prior to that. Your insight at all the meetings was very appreciated, and you will be truly missed. Your baking of treats was, as well, at lots of those meetings, was also very much appreciated. Thank you so much for your immense service to Congregation Shalom. I also want to recognize board trustees Felice Bruskin, David Goldberg, and David Wolfson for completing their 3 consecutive term, max 6 years, on our Shalom board. Each of you has gone above and beyond to provide great things to Congregation Shalom, and we are very grateful for that. I also want to thank Callie Herbst, Jamie Druck, Deb O'Connor for recently fulfilling their terms as board trustees. I appreciate all that you added to our meeting discussions and committee assignments, and thank you for your devotion to Shalom. We are fortunate to have all of you in our community. Although your terms are all coming to a close on the board tonight, please know that you are always welcome to remain involved and encouraged to continue to follow your passions here at Congregation Shalom. For 3 amazing years, I have had the honor to lead Congregation Shalom. It has been a great journey, but I definitely couldn't have done it without the patience, the love, support, and understanding of my amazing life partner, my wife, Kelly. Thank you for putting up with me and covering for me at times, even holding the Torah on Rosh Hashanah once. And understanding when I wasn't always there. I appreciate you so much and love you with all my heart. Thank you as well to my 4 parents. Each of you has helped shape me into the person that I am today, and I am very grateful to have each and every one of you in my life. Lastly, I want to express how bright the future looks for the leadership here at Congregation Shalom. Although my presidency is coming to a close tonight, I know that I am leaving this position in great hands. We have some really great upcoming leaders that will take the torch and do some amazing things. I am not going too far, and I will still be involved, but I look forward to see what our upcoming leaders will accomplish. Your canvas is clean, and you have the opportunity to paint something very, very special. Thank you. Thank you. I'll now call up Scott Franklin to provide our treasurer's report.
Reading glasses now. Good evening. Thank you, Brent. Again, I'm Scott Franklin, a lifelong member of Congregation Shalom, a CPA, and for the last 10 years, our congregation's treasurer. And based on the nominating committee's recommendation, I will have the honor of serving another 2-year term. While our rabbis lead us in studying the fourth book of the Torah, Numbers, I lead our lay leadership and senior staff in studying our synagogue's financial numbers. Tonight, I'd like to briefly share some of these numbers with you for the upcoming fiscal year, which runs from July 1st through June 30th of 2024, and update you on some other pertinent information. After experiencing the financial impacts of the COVID pandemic, I do believe that Congregation Shalom has returned to somewhat normal operating results. Our budget for the upcoming fiscal year was developed by Linda Hollifield, our executive director, with insight from myself, President Brent Arnold, Vice President of Finance David Arnstein, and congregational members Steve Korzinski and Neil Willinson. For the current year to date, our various sources of revenue have been somewhat better than budgeted, although this is mostly due to annual commitment collections coming in stronger, as well as various fees. As you noticed with the recent annual commitment mailing, the board did approve an increase to all levels so that we can somewhat keep pace with increasing salaries and other operating expenses. Our general philanthropy collections, have not been as strong as we would have liked, and we would love to reduce our reliance on annual commitment dollars by cultivating and identifying additional sources of unrestricted donations. We have done our best to control expenses even in this current high inflation environment. I'm happy to report that Linda has been able to fully staff our congregation with caring individuals, and even though our payroll expense is higher than it was last fiscal year, our current year expenses to date for 11 months is still significantly below the authorized budget amount from our current budget. The one expense that unfortunately continues to trend higher is security. We are on track to spend $80,000 to maintain the peace and safety of our sanctuary, school, and building. If any of you would like to help underwrite this essential function, please reach out to Linda. Now, while controlling expenses is certainly part of our process, the most important element of our congregation is maintaining and serving our membership. We remain the largest and strongest Reformed synagogue in the state, and while the numbers do fluctuate as members join or leave for various reasons, we have 829 family units in our congregation as of this past Monday. Attracting new members and retaining our current members is an important part of the work that goes on here at Congregation Shalom. And I do believe there's a report in the packet too detailing our membership committee. The staff, clergy, board, and our lay members are all involved in various ways to accomplish this task. Now, part of our core mission is providing a sound religious and Hebrew school. Our Director of Congregational Learning, Brian Abner, has overseen the post-COVID restoration of both programs, and by far we do have the largest non-day school Jewish education program in the city. The rebounding student population has also resulted in additional school fees to help offset the cost of this first-class schooling. I am also happy to see that the investment we made to install video monitors in the classrooms to facilitate COVID-style learning continues to be used in routine lessons now that education has become more back to normal. At the May meeting of the Executive Committee, the proposed operating budget was approved, subject to ratification by the full Temple Board. And then 2 weeks later, at its May meeting, the Congregation's Board of Trustees did ratify the budget as presented. And we are projecting to bring in approximately $2,450,000 of revenue from all sources to offset approximately $2,430,000 of expenses. This budget projects to use about $135,000 or so of donor funds already on hand from previous years, and our net budget surplus per the budget is going to be around $11,000, assuming everything works out as we planned. Now, as you can see from the pie chart on page 9 in your pamphlet, the annual commitment revenues continue to be about 2/3 of our overall expected inflow. We hope to also have and do anticipate significant development efforts to bring in additional considerable funding. Also on page 9 is a pie chart of our major expense categories. And as always, the bulk of our budget is spent on salaries, administration, and physical plant expenses. And for those of you wondering, the expense item for URJ/MUM are the dues that Congregation Shalom pays to the Union for Reform Judaism to further that organization's leadership of the Reform movement. Despite our annual commitment increase, we understand that the economy is not faring too well at the moment. If any congregant has financial concerns of their own, please feel free to discuss your situation confidentially with Linda Hollifield. However, our operating costs do continue to rise, and our overall budget is approximately $2,935 per family. So for those congregants who are able to help out more, please consider making an additional contribution to our operating fund or increasing your annual commitment level. And don't forget, if you bring in a check as payment in full, based on the letters you did receive by July 15th, you can take a 2% discount on your amount due. The Temple Board and the Executive Committee realize that development must continue to be a priority to reduce our reliance on annual commitment dollars. Again, if you would like more information on how to be part of our larger development efforts, please reach out to Linda, incoming President Steve Wallace, or myself. We continue to critically review our programming and events offerings to ensure that we are meeting the mission of our congregation as well as being fiscally responsible. Our largest expense, perhaps investment is a better word, is our wonderful staff and clergy. And as Brent already mentioned, we have renewed contracts for both Cantor Perper and Brian Abner. We additionally want all members to realize that we have many costs that are not so glamorous, such as security and an aging building at the top of this list. The temple does have a long list of recommended capital repair work, and it is imperative that we replenish our various funds so that we can address the next round of expensive long-term needs. Our plumbing system has problems. Our beautiful Samson Sanctuary is in need of fresh carpeting and seat repairs. Some of our air conditioning and heating units are past their useful lives. We have elevator issues, and the list goes on. Any and all contributions will be greatly appreciated, and we do have a specific building maintenance fund for directed donations. Please contact Linda or Steve for more information about our other existing general purpose funds to which you could make a contribution. I would like to personally thank all of the members of our professional staff, executive committee, and the board for their efforts this past year. Keeping our synagogue running as normal as possible during the pandemic and then returning to the way it was a challenge we overcame. Our executive director, Linda Hollifield, deserves accolades and praise for pulling together all of our thoughts, plans, and projects in order to achieve our budgetary goals while doing everything else she and her staff can do to keep Congregation Shalom a warm and inviting place. All of us on the Board of Trustees and the Executive Committee greatly appreciate your past commitment to and involvement with Congregation Shalom. And we hope that each of you is able to continue your support of our congregation for the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I'll now call Matt Honigman up for the nominating committee report. And Matt did a phenomenal job of stepping in when there was a void to do this work. And so I greatly appreciate all of your efforts. You've done a fantastic job, and looking forward to hearing your results.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to present this report to you. Our 2023-2024 slate of nominees for new officers and trustees. This was an exciting process for me and the group that we assembled. We took names and people from all throughout our congregation, programming, families, education, and we were very deliberate about who we wanted to be and who we wanted in these places of our leadership. So without further ado, our president, Steve Wallace, immediate past president, Brent Arnold, new vice presidents, Carrie Altman and Susie Rosengarten, secretary, Matt Honigman, and our new trustees, Samantha Abramson, Jennifer Gilbert, Barb Halpin, Liz Sumner, and Rick Paler. Again, it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to serving for another year with you. Am I also? I can? Sure. And we don't want to forget our continuing board and endowment members as well. So, continuing with us as Vice President, David Arnstein and Larry Gollopel. Our treasurer, thank goodness, Scott Franklin. Our continuing trustees, Carrie Bilski, Charlie Goodman, Roger Karp, Greg Parrish, Mike Dykman, Matt Siegel, and Michael Gilbert. And our past presidents, Linda Berlin, Barry Goldman, Sylvan Lieben, and Steve Meyerson. Our lifetime trustees, Nancy Barnett, Aaron Goodstein, Jim Ross, and our endowment board, Ronald Miller, Stephen Isaacson, Gabriel Marks, Jess Hendrickson, and Adam Peck. Thank you again to Brent.
Thank you very much, Matt. Great work by you and the entire committee. Can I get a motion to approve the slate of nominees as... Thank you, Aaron Goodstein, for that motion. Is there a second? Second by Jim Ross. Thank you very much, Jim. All in favor of approving the slate of new officers and continuing board and endowment members for the 2023 and 2024 year of the Congregation Shalom's board? All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes, and our officers are now going to be inducted into the Congregation Shalom's board. So I will call up Rabbi Noah. Sorry.
I'd like to invite all of our officers to step forward so that they can participate in this installation ceremony. If you'd like to come forward. And Steve and Brent, if you would open up the ark doors, and if the rest of us could rise. We'd like to invite you all to stand in a line right here. Invariably, inevitably, whenever we have B'nai Mitzvah stand before the Torah, right before they start to carry the Torah around our congregation, they always turn to me and ask me if it's heavy. They always ask, is the Torah heavy? And I imagine that some of you are thinking that right now too. Is the Torah heavy? Whenever I'm asked that question, I think back to the history of our people. The giving of the Torah on Sinai, how it was carried through the wilderness, how it was brought to the borders of our promised land and then entered into it, how our people were cast out from that land and sent to Babylon, where upon the rivers of Babylon our ancestors wept. And yet they still clung to that Torah. They returned that Torah to the land of our promise. They brought it forward. And as our people experienced moments of transcendence and yet also moments of despair, they clung to that Torah. And as the Torah left the land of Israel and departed with our people as they entered into the exile and to diaspora and carried it through foreign lands, lands in which they had to new languages, learn new ideas, bring their old ethics to this forefront of what was the modern world. I think about our ancestors carrying that Torah with strength and determination, leaders like yourselves. And as they clung to that Torah through shtetl and ghetto and pogrom after pogrom after pogrom, and as they moved forward in time and space to come to a new land of promise and experience the degradation of the Holocaust and return to the land of their inception, and were able to bring the Torah even here to Fox Point, Wisconsin, where those who stood before us brought forward ideals that are now the soul of Congregation Shalom and have been passed from leader to leader to leader. And I think about all of those leaders who have held the Torah, and I think about the heaviness of it. And when I think about it, I realize, and I always say to our young people, yes, the Torah is heavy. But when you're part of a community of people who care for the Torah and care for its values and care for each other, then we know that we can bear that weight together. And so it's a privilege now to pass the Torah to those who are standing here today, who will carry that Torah forward with great strength and great commitment to our people. This is the Torah. Cherish it and pass it on. It's the only workout I get. Holy One of blessing, bestow your blessing on these leaders who have been elected to serve our congregation. Instill in them with insight and understanding, perseverance as well as patience. Inspire them to work together in pursuit of our community's greatest aspirations, even as they watch over its daily needs. O God, we are thankful for the dedication and giving spirit that brings these men and women before you, prepared to devote their energies to your service and to the benefit of us all. Grant success to their endeavors and help them to lead us in the pursuit of our sacred mission. Now we invoke your ancient blessings of our tradition upon these dear leaders.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
May God bless you and keep you.
יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונקה.
May God's countenance shine upon you and through you.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.
May God always smile upon you and bless you with God's choicest of blessings, the blessing of wholeness, the blessing of peace, the blessing of shalom. And let us all say, Amen. As Rabbi Pastor was always fond of saying, "Behold, a good doctrine has been given unto you, my Torah, forsake it not. For it is a tree of life to those who cling to it. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace."
עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה ותומכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה
Thank you, everyone. Siman Tov and Mazel Tov.
Semen tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov semen tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov semen tov u'mazel tov semen tov Yehelanu 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 Olechol Yisrael Yehelanu Yehelanu Olechol Yisrael Semen tov u'mazel tov semen tov u'mazel tov semen tov u'mazel tov semen tov Yehelanu. Mazal tov.
Brent, don't go too far. Thank you all, Rabbi and congregation, Cantor. Brent, if you'd come up here, please. On behalf of the board, the executive committee, and the entire congregation, we want to thank you very much for your extraordinary service during this most extraordinary of times. We owe you and your family our deep appreciation for your selflessness, your willingness to serve an extra year, and your abiding and continuing devotion to Shalom. So I'd like to give you this token of our thanks and appreciation. Thank you, Brent, and thank you for everything you've done for me. On the walls of our sanctuary are written the words, Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand. This rabbinic text surely implied standing before the divine, but modern Reformed Judaism embraces a wide variety of beliefs. We have a big, expansive tent, a tent so large that traditional conceptions of the divine are open to debate and personal interpretation. But tonight, however, I see these words, know before whom you stand, and I think about standing before people. Not the divine per se, but standing before people, standing before our congregational family. And is there a more powerful, tangible manifestation of the divine than a voluntary collection of people of goodwill, together undertaking the spiritual and practical work of repairing the world? These words are a reminder to know the people before whom I stand, to know the congregational family I've been called upon to serve, and I promise to serve you as Shalom's president to the best of my ability, following the footsteps of the many remarkable lay leaders who've gone before, going back to our founding president, David Pash. To the Egyptians, the Israelites were Ivrim, nomads, aliens, outsiders, and so we remain. As nomads here in the Midwestern Wisconsin wilderness, we share a vision to take care of each other with acts of kindness. We understand that throughout history, the Jewish people have always been a minority and seem to flourish most when we are strangers in strange lands. And when we speak truth to power, we question the status quo, and we wrestle with difficult issues. Jews are a people less concerned with faith in doctrine than faith in the dissonance between the world as it is and the world we can make better. And it's the dissonance that demands we engage in self-reflection and in service. So I undertake this period of congregational service informed by the lives of two Jews. One's very famous, one not so much. The famous Jew is Rabbi Hillel. We all recall the Talmud said of this rabbi that a man came to him and asked, "Can you teach me all of Torah while I stand on one foot?" And Rabbi Hillel won over the convert by telling him the golden rule. He said, "That which is hateful to you, do not do unto your neighbor. That is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary." This is both a remarkably simple guide for living a good life and, I believe, for leading Shalom. Everything else from Tallis to Talmud is but commentary. So I will try not to confuse the myriad details of traditional Jewish practice and temple administration with the real education of the Torah. Treat others as you wish to be treated, then all will be right with Shalom, and all will be right with the world. Rabbi Hillel was the famous Jew. The not-so-famous Jew is my father, David Wallace, who passed away almost 15 years ago. My father enjoyed coming to this temple for very specific reasons. He loved this congregation's clergy. He found deep satisfaction in the legacy of reaching out and welcoming people of different faiths, of different backgrounds, and of Shalom's efforts to assist those in our community who are less fortunate. None of these, strictly speaking, are formal requirements of Jewish religious observance, but they're powerful examples of how one might lead a good life, a Jewish life, at least according to Rabbi Hillel. That which is hateful to you, do not do unto your neighbor. Dayenu. My father also believed that wisdom is the ability to hold two mutually exclusive ideas in your head at the exact same time, something rabbis do quite well, and so do physicists. The greatest example of this is probably Einstein's cat state theory, which states that atoms can sometimes act in two diametrically opposed ways at the exact same time. Theory, yes, until scientists actually put half a dozen beryllium atoms into a cat state. They were spinning in two directions at once, clockwise and counterclockwise simultaneously. Shalom, like those beryllium atoms, continues to move in many directions all at once. And in a world of specialization and institutions that focus on serving ever smaller market segments, Shalom cares for people from birth to death. We have a very wide remit. And we do this at a time when joining formal religious institutions, whether they're synagogues or churches or mosques, seems old-fashioned and countercultural, and yet Shalom thrives. Our pastoral care is outstanding. Our music is revelatory. Our religious school is more than twice the size of all other Reformed congregations combined. And for many young families, which is our future, Shalom is the synagogue of choice. Now, Judaism does not have a monopoly on living a meaningful life, but Judaism especially seems to revel in the endless cycle of trying to reconcile difficult and often opposing points of view. I reflect that Shalom might be an easier congregation to lead if we were more homogeneous, if we all grew up with the same traditions, if we all worshiped the same, voted the same, loved the same, created families that looked the same. But we don't. And Shalom is stronger, our tapestry brighter, our mosaic more incandescent because of this diversity. The prophet Isaiah implores us to enlarge the place of your tent. Stretch your tent curtains wide, do not hold back. Lengthen your cords, strengthen your stakes. Now, Shalom has always been a large tent. It remains a large tent. And during the next 2 years, I want to assure that there is fabric enough, cord enough, and stakes aplenty to enlarge our tent even further. Synagogues in several small towns in Wisconsin are closing, and we must find ways to provide a spiritual home for those who are searching. Judaism may not provide neat and tidy answers to every specific situation. That is not the Jewish way, but our tradition encourages us to ask lots of questions. And among those questions I hope you'll consider is how you might participate as actively as possible in the Shalom family. To paraphrase a very famous Catholic, ask not what Shalom can do for you, but what you can do for Shalom. So let us grow Shalom from strength to strength. Let us wander among and wonder at all the beauty that surrounds us, the beauty of nature, the beauty of our building, and most of all, the beauty of human companionship. Let us serve Shalom with a song in our hearts, smiles on our faces, and with an abundance of joy. Thank you. Linda?
So my focus tonight is going to be a little bit different. I have a slideshow that I'm going to be showing, and the screens are coming down, so we'll wait for them to be fully open, and then I will get the slideshow up. But before that, I wanted to thank you all so much for joining us tonight for Shalom's 71st Annual Meeting. In many ways, the last year has been a new beginning for us. While we have returned to familiar offerings in education, in our worship, in life cycle events, and programs, you may be surprised to learn that 1/2 of our staff was not here before COVID. So as we hired new staff, we have taken this opportunity to look at job duties and responsibilities and have made changes where appropriate. The partnership between staff and lay leaders is vital to our success, and I wanted to express my deep thanks to all the lay leaders who have served in the past and who are joining us in the upcoming year, as well as those who will serve in the future. But for my comments tonight, I really wanted to focus on the staff as a result of all the changes that have recently occurred. Each and every one of our staff members is highly skilled and talented. With them, we are building a strong team that has a shared purpose, understands they are each valued for their contribution to the whole, and agrees on the importance of maintaining a positive attitude. It is with a common purpose that we are propelled toward excellence. I'd like to introduce you to the individuals on Congregation Shalom's exceptional team. This is a picture of the whole team with the exception of our maintenance staff, and I apologize that they were not photographed. But let me begin moving through the slides. And as you know, these are our clergy. They need no introduction. They are extraordinary, warm and caring, and always giving generously of themselves. Next are Brian Avner and Mandy Winke, who oversee our early childhood programs and our religious and Hebrew schools, as well as adult education. We appreciate Brian's extensive knowledge of Judaism and his creativity. He is approachable and understanding. Mandy has been the mainstay of our school for 22 years, and as Brent mentioned earlier, this upcoming year will be her last before she retires. Directors of the school have come and gone, but Mandy has endured. Her dedication at Shalom is unparalleled, as is her historic perspective. We have benefited enormously from her experience and her connections with our families. Our Director of Special Programs and Membership is Peyton Gex. Peyton's family has a long-standing connection to Congregation Shalom. Many years ago, her great-grandmother, Viv Eichenbaum, served as administrator and bookkeeper here. Her great-grandfather, Saul Eichenbaum, was the director of the school. Peyton remembers visits to Shalom when she was young and has fond memories of her experiences here. Peyton's energy and enthusiasm are contagious. We have had great success with new programs that Peyton has introduced and look forward to the many new and exciting programs that she is planning. Heather is Peyton's assistant. In addition, she has general reception responsibilities. With warmth and compassion, Heather quickly puts callers and visitors at ease. Moving on to our financial team, I'd like to introduce you to Meredith and Laurel. I met Meredith in 2015 as we were preparing for Rabbi Shapiro's retirement gala. At the time, we were planning to switch to QuickBooks. When I learned that Meredith had just retired and that she had experience with QuickBooks and an accounting background, I asked if she would like to help us with this part-time, short-term project. It is 8 years later, and she is still helping. The transition to QuickBooks went very smoothly, and with her support, we have been able to greatly improve the accuracy and timeliness of our financial reports. Laurel takes care of processing all the money that we receive, as well as all the payments we make. She enters thousands of transactions and handles her responsibilities with great confidence and competence. Andrea is the executive assistant to the clergy. In this role, she supports them in all aspects of their work. She assists families with their B'nai Mitzvah planning. She's extremely well organized and great at multitasking. Amy is my executive assistant. In that role, she also has responsibility for compiling the monthly shofar and for preparing e-blasts. I greatly appreciate her support, her willingness to do what it takes to get the job done, and her flexibility. I'm sure many of you have met Natasha, our kitchen manager. She has done a wonderful job in reorganizing the kitchen and in managing and scheduling the kitchen staff. She is thoughtful and creative in her food choices. Her kind and caring approach has endeared her to many congregants. The last group is our maintenance staff. Jacob and Kevin are full-time, and John is part-time. We ask so much of our maintenance staff and rely heavily on them. They are generally here whenever there is something going on in the building. They do room setups, cleaning, they perform building repairs, operate our audio-visual equipment, and so much more. In summary, I want to thank all of our amazing staff for sharing their gifts and talents with Congregation Shalom. I am so grateful to each and every one of them and am so fortunate to work with them. I look forward to continuing our important work together in the year ahead. Thank you. And Brian Abner is next.
Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to share a little bit about the educational programs. We're going to leave the picture up so you can still see all the staff. But to share about the educational programs for all ages that we've been doing this year and that we're looking forward to in the coming year. Starting with our youngest congregants, our early childhood program starts with congregants as young as just a few weeks old to come to Bagels, Books, and Babies with their grown-ups for a chance for almost like a mommy and me class for families to get together and get to know each other, and for our youngest congregants to start to feel comfortable in our space and think of this as a space for them. And as they get older, they join Temple for Toddlers, for our 2 to 4-year-olds, and can come to our Kiddish Club events, which are quarterly services and dinners designed for those youngest congregants. And we have one of those tomorrow night at Possibility Playground in Port Washington. So we're always fun to also go out into our community and do special events with our Congregation Shalom family. They also did a great program earlier in the year. They had an early childhood Seder during Passover, and thank you again to Rabbi Noah and Cantor Perper for doing that, as I was homesick that day and couldn't be here. But it was a wonderful night for our young students. In our adult education, we've had a number of programs this year. We had over 20 students in our Intro to Judaism course, and that will be restarting again at the end of the summer. And we're looking forward to a number of new students and potential conversion candidates joining us for Intro to Judaism. Myself and Rabbi Noah, Rabbi Pazlowski, and Rabbi Shapiro have all taught ongoing classes throughout the year. In honor of Israel's 75th anniversary, we've been doing a monthly Israel education class. And if anyone is still interested, those meet the first Wednesday of each month, and you're welcome to join us at those. And I'm also proud of our partnership with the ADL. We're the first Wisconsin member of the Signature Synagogue program, which brings a representative from ADL to speak about the current state of anti-Semitism in the world, and also to do a training for our teens called Words to Action about how to respond to anti-Semitism and hate that they see in their communities. And finally, our school has been wonderful, and my favorite thing on Sunday mornings, and I'm already kind of missing the craziness on Sundays. It's been a little too quiet up in the school. But we had over 215 students in our school this year, which is over 30 new students from last year. We had 42 students participate in Siyum HaSefer, which marks the end of their first year of Hebrew school. So those are all our third graders and some fourth and fifth graders who joined this year. So it's wonderful to see so many students in our school. And we had 22 madrichim, so those are 8th through 12th graders who help as teen assistants. It is great to have our teenagers stay involved and be amazing role models for our young people. We had some amazing milestones in our school. Marilyn Franklin was honored as Teacher of the Year by the Coalition for Jewish Learning, and Susie Rosengarded received her Double Chai Award for 36 years of teaching in our community, among many of our other amazing teachers. We have our Hebrew students are coming back to their pre-pandemic Hebrew levels. It was really hard to teach Hebrew over Zoom, but being back in the classroom for 2 years, our students have really come back to the levels they were before, and our Hebrew teachers, both Sunday mornings and during the week, have done a great job bringing our students back to that level. On Sundays, we started doing some cross-grade programming. One example is our kindergartners and our fifth graders got together to do a matzah cover project in anticipation of Passover, and seeing the different grades work together was amazing and something we're going to be expanding in the coming school year. One more thing that I'm extremely excited about for next year in December is we'll be taking a civil rights journey with our teenagers through Atlanta and through Mississippi, visiting Birmingham, Montgomery, and Selma, and learning about how the Jewish people were involved in the civil rights movement in the past and how the civil rights and the Black Lives Matter movement and Judaism intersect today. So I'm excited for our teens to be able to go on that trip and have that real experiential learning experience. Finally, I want to take a moment to just thank all of our teachers, and that includes our classroom teachers, our specialists, our clergy who give their Sunday mornings every week to making our prayer and learning experiences so wonderful. And I also, of course, want to thank Mandy, who, as you've heard, is retiring, and I hope you'll join me throughout the entire year as we thank Mandy for everything that she's done. And she also wants to make sure everyone knows that she's not leaving Shalom. She will still be here. She still wants to teach, and she'll still be very much involved in our community. And finally, I want to thank all of you. As you heard earlier from Scott, the school is subsidized by our entire congregation. And I'm really grateful for everyone who's a part of this community who helps make our school possible and let our school function by being so giving in your dues and your donations that let us have the wonderful school that we do. So thank you, everyone. Rabbi Noah.
Erev Tov, everyone. So this week's Torah portion is Shalach Lecha, which literally means you will send forth. And the context of this passage, of this command, is that the Israelites were standing upon the border of the Promised Land. And Moses was charged to gather scouts to explore the land and bring back reports. For 40 days, the 12 scouts explored the land, seeing a land flowing with milk and honey and the extraordinary produce of the place. But they also brought reports that it would be too hard to conquer that land, for the people there were fierce and fortified and exceedingly large. They said they were like giants, and in the words of 10 of the scouts, that they, the scouts, were like grasshoppers in the eyes of the Canaanites. Only 2 scouts, Joshua and Caleb, said with full confidence that with God's help and a determined spirit, they could seize the land. But the people grew panicked from the ill reports, and it became clear to God and to Moses that this slave people was not ready to enter into the land, and they were forced to wander for 40 years in the desert before being able to enter. After those 40 years, the generation of slaves had perished, and their children, who were born free in the desert, could move with confidence into the land of tomorrow, the Promised Land. The wilderness sojourn functions metaphorically in our lives. It's there to provide us with allegory, to understand our own life journeys, and in this case provides us with valuable insight about how we as a community must perceive the future. The rabbis of old focused on the comment of the scouts, the comment that they seemed like grasshoppers in the eyes of the residents of that land. They noted that these words were a reflection not of the truth, for the Israelites could not have known what they looked like in the eyes of the Canaanites, but it was a statement of perspective, their perspective. The scouts did not have a positive view of themselves and what they were capable of doing. They may well have been capable of taking on any challenge that faced them, but in their own eyes, they were like grasshoppers. And that was a lack of confidence. At Congregation Shalom, we always have the opportunity to look into the eyes of our children and the generations to come and scout out the Promised Land. We cannot say that our future is without challenges. Challenges lurk and prey on our doubts. We have experienced challenge in our journey to this moment too. We navigated COVID and political differences in our country. Our city of Milwaukee has experienced the challenges associated with most Midwestern cities, but we've navigated those challenges ably, and I believe we have been strengthened by those challenges too. So as we look to the future and understand, yes, there is a change in the demographics of American Judaism, and yes, we live in a world where progressive religiosity is challenged by moral absolutists and rigidly dogmatic religious expression, and yes, the financial situation of the younger generations is different from those of the previous ones, But we are not grasshoppers amidst these challenges, and neither will our children be. We can look into their eyes with confidence and tell them that Congregation Shalom will ably meet the challenges of the world of tomorrow and that their future will be flowing with milk and honey. I believe this in my bones because I believe in Shalom. And I believe in Shalom because I believe in the talented people, the lay leaders and the staff who serve it. So first, in that vein, I want to begin by thanking Brent. Where are you, Brent? There you are, Brent. Brent, when we look back at the history of Congregation Shalom, I know that these few years will be highlighted as instrumental to our continued strength. It's true that these were not the years we expected or wanted, but they were years of fortitude. Years when Congregation Shalom was adaptive to the needs of the moment and was still a place of refuge and peace for the members of our congregation. To meet the needs of the moment was no small task, and it required thoughtful leadership. And we are fortunate to have had you in that role, Brent. You deserve our thanks for navigating this time and setting us up so beautifully for the next chapter of our history. And I also want to thank Kelly and Noah and Eli. The commitment that your husband and dad made to our congregation was one that took him away from you too often. I know that you're proud of him and what he's been able to accomplish. And it's meaningful that he has guided an institution that is central to all of your hearts. I know that just as Congregation Shalom has been a place that is central in the lives of the generations that came before Brent, his parents. And I'm thinking of you and those who set him on this path. But also Brent has provided for a Jewish future for his children, and God willing, his children's children, so that they might have the opportunity to stand on this bema, to lead with great ability, and to make real the words L'dor Vador, from generation to generation. Thank you, Brent, for being not only a wonderful president, but also a wonderful friend. And I want to turn my attention now to Steve Wallace. This congregation has been a home and a source of pride for you and your family and your dear parents who knew how prophetic the words of Rabbi Pastor would be, that you would be a credit to your family, your congregation, your country, and your world. I know it's a lot to live up to, as you always say, but you're doing it every day. You can clap if you'd like. Steve, you've been a leader in our community for many years now, a person who inspires others with your infectious enthusiasm for charting a path to the future. And I can speak for the entire staff when I say that we are extraordinarily excited to be benefiting from your time and enthusiasm, your leadership, and your thoughtful way. And I know that this congregation is moving from strength to strength, and under your leadership, we will be assuring that it will continue with strength for many generations to come. I hope that your arm has now healed from all that twisting that I've done. And I also hope that you will find deep satisfaction in helping to hold up and guide Shalom to the next chapter of its history. I am so eager to get started and to enjoy this next chapter with you. And I also want to thank those members of our leadership who have served our congregation and are now taking a well-earned break. I'd like to thank Callie Herbst and Jamie Druck and Deb O'Connor and Felice Bruskin and David Goldberg and David Wolfson. And I would particularly like to thank Terry Stevens, who served on the executive committee, certainly throughout my tenure as a senior rabbi and associate rabbi, as she served on the executive committee for 12 years. And we're all grateful for her leadership and stewardship of our congregation for these years. But she's not off the hook, and none of our leaders are. We'll be turning to you for your guidance and wisdom, and I'm sure in the coming months and years. Now, we should have coordinated our speeches, but I'm going to thank our staff, just like you've heard a number of times. But the truth is, we can never thank individuals enough. And thanking is particularly important in our world and in our community, and we don't do enough of it. So I want to thank them again. I work alongside wonderful clergy that deserves our thanks. First, Cantor Perper. It's been another wonderful year of being uplifted by your music, your positive attitude, your passionate prayers. It's a joy to watch young and old alike respond so beautifully to what you bring. And of course, We also want to thank Cantor Steinsnyder, who has also provided us with beautiful music throughout the year. There are moments during B'nai Mitzvah services where I can look down and I can see our Cantor playing at the piano, and it's almost as though he's carried away by the music. It's a reflection of the relationship that he has with our B'nai Mitzvah students and their families. And when he brings it, boy, does he bring it. He brings that thunder. Rabbi Pozlowski continues to bring a wonderful spiritual dimension to our clergy, and she's taking a well-earned break to go back to visit her family. She's taught us profound lessons from the bedsides of congregants to welcoming the littlest members. Rabbi Pozlowski's been a comforting and uplifting presence, and we're so excited to continue to learn from her and celebrate with her at the simchas to come. Brian Avner has brought the educational offerings to an extraordinary level. Brian is a magnificent leader and brings creativity and tremendous Judaic knowledge to our community. Our school is sacred, and it allows young people to grow and be nourished by outstanding teachers and values and vision. We're grateful for our teachers and our volunteers. And it's also a credit to Brian's leadership. We have fabulous plans for our religious and Hebrew school in the years to come, and I'm excited to see the fruition of his work. Also, we're deeply grateful to our emeriti, Cantor Berman and Rabbi Shapiro. Their constant wisdom, presence, and care for all of us in our community is always a blessing. We're all moved by their continuing sacred work and examples to everyone who has the joy of spending time with them. We also owe our thanks to Linda Hollifield. Linda is a wonderful partner in making sure that Shalom remains a vital and vibrant place for not only our generation, but generations to come. Her tireless, and I do mean tireless, for those of you who know, when you get here sometimes 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and you think that the synagogue is closed, it's not. There's a light on. It's Linda's office. She brings that energy and devotion, her thoughtful skill, and tremendous dedication to our community. And Linda makes sure that everything we do here is done with enthusiasm and a degree of excellence. And our administrative staff, Peyton Roberts, Mandy Winke, Andrea Gotti, Amy Kahn, Heather Watson, Laurel Rose, Meredith Canner, Natasha Lampson, Jacob McElroan, John Hagedorn, Kevin O'Neill, and consultant Katie Sparks, all work so hard to keep Shalom dynamic, holy, and warm for all of us. And we owe them our thanks as we begin our 72nd year. I just want to add, as you've heard, that Mandy Winke, who served our congregation for over 2 decades, will be retiring, as you've heard, and she's deserving of a great deal of credit for the success of our educational programs, and I know that there will be opportunities to thank her for her service to our community over the course of this year. Shalom has every reason to dream big and push with confidence into the future. I can't think of any grasshoppers among us. Just strong and vibrant individuals who are looking to fulfill the promise of our community, each with their own unique vision and dreams for the future. We are the inheritors of the dreams of those who founded this institution, this congregation that's soon to be 72 years old. They were bold and upstarts, as Steve likes to say, with dreams for what we might become. And now it is the moment to dream new dreams and to create a future for Judaism in Milwaukee that can be passed to the future leaders and clergy that will walk this bima and these storied halls. So let us look to the promise of tomorrow with hope in our hearts and confidence in our step, for what we see before us is worthy of our efforts, and our future is there flowing with milk and honey. The scouts that surveyed the land and came back with more fear than hope spread that fear to an entire generation. Today, we're tasked with facing the future with more hope than fear, more confidence than trepidation, more passion than anxiety. We are the scouts now, surveying our promised land. It is flowing with milk and honey. Yes, there will be challenges ahead, but we have the confidence to know that we can overcome whatever might confront us. For when we look to the next generation, we will hand them a legacy, one that was handed to us like a torch, a light passed from generation to the next. Truly, we have much to celebrate this evening, and may the light of Shalom shine ever brightly, lighting our path to the future today and every day to come, L'dor vador, from generation to generation. And now our cantor is going to lead us in our closing benediction of song.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope, and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words, and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. לדור ודור נגיד לך. לדור ודור we protect this chain. From generation to generation, לדור ודור, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our heart, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part, we are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. לדור ודור נגיד לך. לדור ודור we protect this chain. From generation to generation, לדור ודור, these lips will praise your name.
Let us rise now as we turn to words in which we would often close our service. Let's say these words together. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who causes peace on high cause peace to descend upon us, upon our community, upon our world, upon shalom. And let us say, amen. Now I'd like to call upon our current president to step forward, and you have the honor of adjourning our annual meeting.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
May I have a motion? A second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Beautiful speech, Steve. Wow. Fabulous.
Cantor.
Beautifully done. In the hallway. That's right.
There's one up here. That one might be not working, but the other one is.
Use this one. Yeah. Use this thing. Use this up.
I don't know, it's a,
It's really secure in there. Cheered up a little different speed.
Mike? What's up, Mikey D?
Mikey.
Excellent.
Careful, don't drop it.
It was heavy.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's a bobblehead.
It's a Brent bobblehead.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One person's candle is a light to many. Amut Shabbat. Thank you for your many years of dedication, passion, and commitment to Congregation President. Donated in 2020. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Very cool. Love it.
I nearly hit Greg in his car the last time I saw you. Yeah, that's right. It was totally my fault.
Yeah, I was
Totally.
like, wait,
I was like,
stops, and I was
like,
and of course, I was